All right. Well, my name's Roger. For those that haven't met me, I'm the manager for Blackwell Consolidation, our refrigerated division. And so, for the new guys, what this is we call it a roundtable. It's just an open discussion. We typically talk about stuff that's happening in the industry, things that were happening in our company, changes, topics of discussion that we need to address. And that's it. We open it up totally to whoever wants to talk. But I'll start with some of the topics that's going on with Blackwell. For one, especially for the all the Blackwell drivers that are here, probably one of the biggest changes that we've had this year is growth. For those guys that don't know, we've got currently in the fleet about 150 trucks. So we started off the year at about 90% utilization of those trucks, which is fairly good for a over-the-road carrier, actually. And today we're at about 115% utilization, meaning we have a waiting list for drivers. We don't have enough trucks here for them. With the student program that we have way more students than we actually have trucks today. So we saw a lot of positive growth. So for one, from the very first of the year to now, being at over 100% capacity, we're looking to buy new trucks. So from June all the way to the end of the year, we got 35 brand new trucks that are coming in. We've already replaced our old trucks. Right? We sold them already. So the 35 trucks that we have coming in are only for growth. That's just growth. So we're going to try and finish off the year strong. About 185 trucks in the fleet. Jason's team's already on track for hiring all of them. So we're looking really good for that. We're starting to see the brand new trailers come in for like the Crystal Geyser fleets. We've got 14 brand new units that are already built, but we're struggling getting them here. I just had a phone call today with Wabash. They've got 12 brand new trailers for us on the ground. 2 of them are in Portland. They can't even get them to us from Portland, so we got to go pick those up. The other 12 trailers currently are sitting in Lafayette, Indiana at the manufacturer, and they cannot find a carrier for them. So we're trying to get creative because we have a lot of equipment that's in those fleets that needs to be cycled out. So we're doing our best to get those here. Next year, the plan is we're going to grow another 25. So we're planning on, by the end of next year, to have right at 200 trucks filled. So we want to have 200 reefer trucks on the road. Now we typically have we're striving for a 1.5 to 1 ratio for trucks per trailers. And so because we're trying to create more and more drop trailer programs in our fleet, so everything's drop and hook. Makes it a lot easier, quicker for mileage-based drivers. And we're doing it, we're doing pretty well. I think we've got 40 brand new reefers that are on their way too. We just got word that some of the brand new Hyundais are built. I did the same thing. I was like, I don't know if I want Hyundai, but to be honest with you, we were on allocation for everything else. We couldn't buy enough of our normal trailers, so we had to outsource. So that's kind of the plan for assets this year. As far as customers, you guys will notice that because we are growing, we went out and we started soliciting some new customers. Currently, we're starting to do business with Taylor Farms again, which is down in Salinas. We are in the process of getting another seafood company that's going to be onboarded. It's a very large seafood company, pays very, very well. So that's going to be in addition to what we do today. So that, for us, I think will probably even it out. Now, we did expand with some of our higher end customers already. Some of the high end beef that we do, we started taking more of their freight. But my goal is to keep everybody moving and to keep everybody with within their mileage range. You know, we require 10,000 miles per truck. That's our lofty goal. And today when I walked out of the office, I think, you know, because it's displayed what all of our trucks are doing as a fleet, we were at 101% of that goal. So we're doing it. Like I'm proud of that. Really proud of that. Financially, Blackwell's doing amazing. Talking to some of the other managers, Scott, Chris, and Jake, their revenue for combined is looking really, really good too. I know Scott's working on some new really big customers. In fact, he's going to be gone traveling all next week to go visit those brand new customers. So that's good. Sounds like glass is really picking up too. Sounds like Chris is getting a lot of dedicated back, which is really good. So anyways, so a couple of things that I do want to address that we need to address, especially in the reefer fleet, but combines the same thing, is CSA. So everybody knows what CSA is, right? Right now, there's a couple of things that are really hindering us with our CSA, and one of them is logs. And so one of the big things that we adjusted in Blackwell last month, which everybody is aware about in the fleet right now, is that we put an end to the emergency exemption. I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but because of COVID, the federal government came out and basically said that we're gonna relax the hours of service for drivers that are directly resupplying distribution centers for either grocery or equipment or supplies that directly correlate to COVID-19. So obviously toilet paper was a big one, right? But for us as a perishable carrier, mostly grocery, it applied to almost 100% of our freight. Well, not every port of entry agent was savvy to it. They didn't understand it necessarily. And what ended up happening was when you picked up a commodity that was applicable to the emergency exemption, say you're going up and delivering to a Safeway or a Kroger, hours of service almost become null and void. Like you can run it straight through from LA all the way to Seattle, right? And so what we ended up having was we were having some abuse of that. And so some of the drivers had gotten pulled over. We were well within our rights, 100% legal, but it kind of affected us a little bit. And so we had to go back and fight it, because the way you properly log it was PC, right? Your off-duty PC. And we were notating an emergency exemption in the products that we were hauling. Well, the problem is that's a lot for compliance to go back and fight. And when we were over our threshold for hours of service, we just decided it's not worth it. 100% of our freight is 100% legal to run. We don't run any freight that's not legal. Now, that's not saying that you have the hours to do it, but it is 100% legal. I'm not gonna put you on a load that takes 20 hours to complete and give you 15 hours to do it. It's not gonna happen. So that's one thing that we're really trying to address is our hours of service, and a big part of that is the usage of PC. Everybody knows how to use personal conveyance, right? The proper use of personal conveyance, pork chop. So when is it okay to use personal conveyance? When is it not okay to use personal conveyance?
Safe haven.
Safe haven, I mean, that's a generalized term, but sure.
Yeah.
Now, the FMCSA came out and kind of revamped the verbiage for personal conveyance. And I don't know if some of the drivers that are experienced drivers probably remember that it was very strict. It was like, if you're under a load, no PC, right? Doesn't really make any sense, but if you did PC, you had the PC wherever you're going, and then you had the PC back to the original location, right? Which also doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. What else? There was a lot of things that just, it didn't make any sense, right? So they did come out and say, because what they called that, if you went that way and then ended PC and then proceeded on, they called it advancing the load. And so, which at that point was illegal. Then they come back and say, okay, well, we understand, like, I mean, if you're here in the middle of nowhere and you need to PC to a truck stop because you need to have resources, right? Food and a shower and laundry, and it's 25 miles in front of you, we're not gonna make you go back 25 miles and then start all over again. That doesn't make any sense. So they did relax that, right? They said, okay, that's not necessarily advancing a load. We're not gonna make you go back to the original location. That was a biggie. As far as duration goes, now, unless something's changed in the last 6 months, the FMCSA does not state how much PC you can use. We do have a general guideline of 45 miles, I think that's right? 45 miles. I mean, if it goes beyond 45-mile threshold of PC, we get notified. And we might question. I mean, obviously, if you're in Dallas, Texas, and you need to PC to the next stop, and it's 100 miles away, like, I'm pretty sure you could have found a place within 100 miles. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? But we do want to be cautious. You know, there was a question that came up about what happens if I live here and I want to go load here, can I PC from there to there? Well, legally, no, you can't. That's an advancement of a load, even though you're not under a load. You're benefiting the company by doing that. Okay? You can't benefit the company by doing it. So that's a big deal with PC. And we found some PCs that drivers were running 50% on personal conveyance and for 50% on duty. You know, that's gonna get us in big trouble. Okay, right now, Blackwell specifically, I know Combine's got a couple other thresholds that they're beyond, is Blackwell is 100% pull-in California. That's not good for us.
100%.
100% pull-in to scales.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be inspected every time, but they're gonna pull you in.
I noticed being pulled in constantly.
Yeah.
Where I was too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because that's why the CSA is so important. Now, if we become unsatisfactory, because right now we're still satisfactory with the CSA, then we're gonna have real problems, big problems. So it's imperative that we're addressing our CSA scores. And I know Melissa Dockery, which is safety, this is like #1 on her plate right now. And she's working really hard to get those scores down. In fact, she submitted it today, and we actually dropped by a point, I think, in 3 or 4 different categories, which is good. But really, all the initiatives that we take today are probably not gonna necessarily show effect for the next 12 months. That's just the way it works.
Is that every scale throughout California, or the first one that you pass by?
Typically, it's everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, that's bad for us. I mean,
Yeah.
And now as far as full inspections go, we're not seeing that.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get inspected. In fact, you know, you ask Jason, like Jason spent some time once at the port of entry down here in Ashland, and he says like half the time the agents weren't even paying attention, like they don't even care, trucks were just going through, right? But that one time that you get pulled in, you know, and they want a full inspection, it's gonna be bad. So, and the reality is if you do get inspected, you know, maintenance is also CSA, vehicle maintenance. I think Combined is over their threshold of maintenance, which is no bueno. So, if you do get an inspection, we wanna be clean 100% of the time. And for Blackwell, some of the issues that we're having, which it's tough for me to handle, is stupid crap. It's like, we didn't do our pre-trip, and we didn't catch a marker light out on the trailer. It's like, really? Like that? You know what I mean? Leaking wheel seals have been a big one for our fleet. And so, if you guys get a clean inspection, you guys get a $50 bonus. So there's no reason not to be maintaining your equipment. I mean, it's like, you know, a carpenter. They always say, if you don't have the right tools, you're not gonna make any money, right? Well, your guys' tool is a truck and trailer. I mean, if you get shut down, you're not making any money either, right? So, clean inspections are really important. When you do get an inspection or a citation, we need to report those, okay? Driver services needs them within 24 hours. So log that in your memory.
Clean
Doesn't
or
matter.
any inspection?
Yep.
Okay.
Within 24 hours, okay? And that's been kind of an issue.
When you talk about get them in the driver services, in the TransFlow app, there's a section on there for inspection reports.
Yeah. Yeah. Has everybody seen that? Yeah.
You
So
said
you'll
what
see-
now, what is it?
What's that?
Oh, the TransFlow, you said.
Yeah, there's a category called inspections in TransFlow. So you're gonna TransFlow your inspection, or if you have a citation.
Oh, when you're selling the bills, right.
Yeah, so we need those within 24 hours.
Okay.
And so a lot of times, you know, especially for citations or inspections, I mean, we need to document that as soon as possible.
Is it trip, you got trip sheets for the TransFlow, no trip sheets?
Trip sheets?
Yeah, trip sheets, you know,
Yeah.
it's got the,
Oh, yeah.
okay, all right,
Yeah, like route sheets?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you submit that with your load, or your bills.
Right.
That's how you get paid.
Right.
Yeah. Does everybody know when payroll cutoff is?
15 and the end of the month.
Last day of the month, right? By noon. Okay, by noon. It never fails. We got payroll calling me saying, hey, the driver wants paid on this. It's 3 p.m. and we're way past cutoff, you know? So they end up getting a flow of paperwork by noon on the 15th and whatever the last day of the month is. So it's always beneficial for you guys. For us, it's really common and refrigerated
24 hours.
that you might have a bill of lading that's 20 pages long. That's not uncommon for us. I mean, it's that many SKUs on the truck. And so the problem is it could hold up billing if we're missing one page, like just one page. So if you inadvertently lose one page. So I've been telling guys, don't wait till the 15th. Don't wait till the last day of the month. It's fresh now. As soon as you deliver, as soon as they sign off the bills clean, TransFlow them right then and there. I mean, you're there anyways. Everything's fresh, all the paperwork's sitting in front of you, just TransFlow it and get it done. You know, for like the reefer drivers, you know, lumper receipts, wash receipts, and so all that gets done per load every time. So we do, the guys that typically wait till like cut off, you know, for one, you're risking not getting in by cutoff, but by two, if there's anything missing, that's gonna hold it up as well. So please, and especially for our customers, do it at the time of delivery. You know, so. Anybody have any questions yet?
So you said earlier we were 101% above the 10,000 mark, is that for the month?
That's a rolling 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, every day it updates what the average of the fleet is.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we're averaging 10,000 miles. Now, obviously, that means we got a lot of drivers that are well above it. We got some guys that are below it.
Okay.
And some of the fleet, to be honest with you, skews the number. It's like one of the Crystal Geyser fleets, they're a minimum fleet down in LA. They only run 300 miles a day, max. So those guys might run 6,500 miles a month.
Yeah.
So those guys really skew that number. So we actually have a lot more drivers above 10,000
Yeah,
than below.
okay.
You know, so, I mean, for mileage-based drivers, I mean, that's excellent for you guys. I mean, we got the freight to do 13, 14,000 miles.
A month.
And we got guys, yeah,
Okay.
and we got guys doing it consistently too.
Cool.
Okay. You guys have any other questions yet? No?
The performance bonus, which is 4 cents. So that's also every week. I mean, what we are driving, that's add to our actual mile.
Correct. Yeah, so you get, what lane are you on?
Pardon me?
What lane are you on?
Refer
Oh, west?
I-5.
Yeah. So your base pay is 54 cents a mile. I think you get a 4 cent performance bonus, bringing it up to 58 cents a mile, right? So the performance bonus, you don't have to earn it, you just have to keep it. So from day one of mileage driving, you're gonna get that 4-cent bonus. Now,
If something happens, we lose that.
correct,
Got it.
accident, if we have a load claim, like a cargo claim, if we have failed deliveries too many times, I mean, stuff that costs the company money, right? That would be losing your performance bonus. Now, I'll be honest, I couldn't even tell you the last time one of our drivers lost their performance bonus. I mean, it was probably an accident or a claim that was at fault, right? But it's only for a maximum of 6 pay periods. That's it, and you instantly get it back. You don't even have to earn it back, you just instantly get it back, right?
Got it.
And so, if you do make a mistake, like everybody went through Mike's orientation.
Funny.
Yeah. You know, we really tried to drive home here mistakes. Like, it's fine to make a mistake. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna screw something up, it's inevitable. But for us, how you deal with the mistakes is more important than making the mistake. You know what I mean? I mean, we got drivers that have completely totaled the truck at fault, they know it, but they know what they did wrong. You know, they own up to it, they own the mistake. You know, and the most important thing is learning from the mistake. And I can respect that a lot more than knowing for a fact that you were distracted or you fell asleep or something like that, and then you deny it the whole time. No, that didn't happen. We frown upon that, you know, a lot more. You know, if you can own your mistake, like I said, I mean, we got drivers that have made huge mistakes. We have corporate employees that have made huge mistakes, cost the company thousands of dollars. But if you make the mistake and you own the mistake and you can learn from the mistake, chances are you'll never make that mistake again. Okay? So the performance bonus is really just accountability. That's it. Most of the time, if you lose your performance bonus, the amount of money that you're losing every time never amounts to the money that we had to pay out. Okay, so we're not asking you to pay for the mistake. We're asking you to be accountable for the mistake. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else? Mine's pretty easy today. I don't have a lot to report. How's the other divisions going?
Don't.
How's freight?
I'm in orientation, dude.
Oh.
I just got back this
Oh,
week.
yeah, that's right. You went from a reefer company, right?
Yeah,
How was their freight? Slow?
they were wide open.
Really? Yeah. It's a really weird freight market out there. Really weird. I don't know if anybody knows what the spot market is. There's 2 different ways to rate freight. There's a spot market and there's contract. Okay. The spot market is where like a freight broker will put out the freight out to blast it out to whoever's subscribing to whatever website, load lists and stuff like that they're supplying. And then they either put a rate on it or they request rates back from all these different carriers. And a lot of the carriers that do the spot market are smaller base carriers. They're owner operators, you know, might own 3, 4, 5 trucks, maybe 10 trucks, but they're smaller carriers. They have the ability to go out there and play the market. A lot of these guys will follow, like for reefer, they'll follow the produce market all the way across the United States. Right? Florida's banging, they're down in Florida. Southern Texas starts moving, they move down to Southern Texas, then they go down to Yuma and Nogales and out to El Centro, and these guys are chasing the market, chasing the rates. Well, in the off season, the rates go down, right? Because volume goes down, volume of freight goes down. So the spot market fluctuates all the time like this. Contract, which is what we are, all of our freight is contractually agreed upon, typically for between 6 months to 2 years. And so that obviously stays level, always, okay? The contract market, very slim, right? It hardly fluctuates from year to year. And normally it's kind of going like this, you know, that's kind of the way it runs. This year, we've seen like the complete opposite. For one, the spot market spiked at the end of last year to the beginning of this year through second quarter. And so we saw rates that were astronomical. I mean, even Scott, our heavy haul manager, you know, with his 13 axle RGNs getting paid $20,000 and $30,000 a load, whatever it is. I mean, we were seeing some freight that was almost matching some of his costs, and we're just running a reefer, you know, and it's because there was very few carriers left out there that were able to haul the freight, but the volume was still up. Well, now we made a polar shift, and the carriers are coming back because now COVID's over-ish, and all of a sudden the freight volume's coming down. Now, everybody can speculate as to why. You know, I'm not going to go into that, but there's probably a few reasons. I think probably the biggest reason is everybody's talking about recession. Okay, and I don't know about you guys, but there was a time where I used to go to the grocery store and I used to fill up the basket, and I never really thought about it. It is what it is, right? We need the food. But today, I think people are being a little more picky and choosy what they buy. You know, it's like at the end of the week, it's like, man, I really didn't need that, and this lettuce is going bad, and now I gotta toss it. Where people today, I think, are buying the bare minimum. They're only buying this much because they know they're gonna utilize that much, and if they need more, they'll go get some more. But so now, the supply was still up, but the demand has fallen. So because of that, you see the spot market really crashing. I mean, really crashing. There's not a lot of freight. I looked yesterday, actually I've looked every single day. Our main lane, our bread and butter is the I-5, the West Coast. I mean, we make more money on the West Coast than we do any other lane that we have. So, you always have a line haul and you got a back haul. Okay, the line haul for the West Coast is Southern California, all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. That's where you make your money. If you can get freight back, you're doing good. When I first started and I was running operations for another reefer company, we deadheaded back to LA sometimes from Seattle just to get back to those rates. And then they started loading lumber in the reefers. We were like, wow, this is awesome. You know, 60 cents a mile, and it pays for fuel. It doesn't today, but so I've watched it every single day this week. And every single day that I go on the spot market and start looking for freight from the Pacific Northwest back to California, zero. I mean, there was times I looked on there and there was not one load from Portland to Seattle to go back to anywhere in California.
Because they've already been snatched up, or there just isn't, it's not available, it isn't there.
It's not there.
Huh.
So the only freight that's there is being taken by us, by contract carriers, not just us, but you know, the contract carriers. And so we are still loading south. We're very fortunate to have that freight, and that's why we go to the contract market instead of the spot market. The other guys, the reason why I can't get trailers from Lafayette, Indiana to here is because when those carriers pull that trailer here, they're power only. And there's no freight coming out of the Pacific Northwest, so nobody wants to come out here. Nobody. So that's becoming a problem. And I foresee it going for a while. You know, I don't claim to know what fuel's doing. I can speculate, but you know, the big wigs that do follow it really, really close are expecting it to continue going up. We're expecting California to go break $7. That's scary. This is the first time that I've ever seen fuel cost higher than payroll cost on the truck. So it costs us more for fuel than payroll for the driver. That's crazy. I think Blackwell broke $1 million last month in fuel. So I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen the solid numbers yet, but I believe we paid more than $1 million for fuel last month.
Pretty amazing.
That would be $450,000 higher than May of last year. Almost double the cost.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's significant.
So if you do think about that, I mean, now if you think about that, the profitability of the truck, which I don't wanna, you know, I'm not gonna bore you guys with it, but now you gotta think about fuel consumption. You know, idling the truck takes away from your MPG, right? Idling the truck utilizes more fuel, more cost to us. Now, I'm not saying don't idle the truck, especially when it's 105 degrees outside. But, you know, think about it, okay? Think about managing your speeds, you know, because every penny saved on fuel cost amounts to a lot of money today, a lot of money. And I was talking to somebody, and one of the drivers said, "Hey, this is the first time that I ever actually reached my limit on my ComDad card for fuel. It's like $1,200 or so. I think our limit's $1,200. It's like a day. They can't even fill up for $1,200 now. Isn't that crazy?
Mhm.
Even at like 6 something gallon with our discount, man, they must have known fumes, huh? Yeah. Anyways, anybody else have any questions for me? I'm not gonna keep you guys on.
I have an unrelated